No, well, good. Okay, fair enough. Oh, David. David. David.
Hello, Richard and Julie.
Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Everybody always looks so serious when they're logging in, don't they?
Well, yeah, it's just getting sorted, really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, we've had the pleasure of not putting out chairs in the memorial hall today, and that's normally a little bit of a workout before the meeting, but it seems really weird not doing that. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there. I don't think it's Sarah. I think you're.
No, I'll change that.
Okay.
Well, she's coming along in a minute, but
Right, okay, good.
she sorted out getting into the meeting,
And
and obviously typed her name in, and that's it.
Yes.
Trying to look for the change in name.
Right.
Usually.
Hi, Ian.
Oh, perhaps. Well, it's Richard anyway. When she comes, I'll get her to change it.
Okay, Richard, right. Okay, well done, Richard. Thank you. Yes, it is.
Start video.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Hi. Oh. So, who's Galaxy A20E?
People
Yeah.
Where's the end?
Starting to soon.
Hello, Joe. Hi, Joe. Hi.
Come this way. You come in.
I can't find it anymore.
Yeah. Bit more. That's it.
Hello, Liz.
I've got everything except my name.
Hi, Liz.
Sarah's just turned.
Hello, Vicky.
Well, let me sit down in that chair because I can't.
Hello, Christy.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Chris.
Change my name.
Wow. We were just saying that it seems rather weird that we've not been having a workout in the memorial hall, putting chairs out. That's normally the first thing to get us in the mood. It was a good hour, I think. Yeah.
Does seem to be the option to be on video.
Ah. Honey?
I'm not on scene.
Sure.
Look.
Oh, good move. Looks like you've got a goldfish in there. A yellowfish, anyway. Yeah, yellowfish, yeah.
Hello, Vicky.
Hi, Ian. Hi, Beryl. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Oh, hi, Vicky.
How are you?
Hello. Very well, thank you.
Yes.
You all are?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, Jackie. Hello, Kathy.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Christine.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Nigel.
Hello.
There's a lot.
Six of them so far. 6 of them so far.
I don't know.
Hello, Julia.
Hiya.
Hello, Keith.
Hi.
There's more. Vicky.
Three fingers.
There's Vicky.
Hello, Barbara. Hi. Hi, Barbara. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you, Linda. Hello, James. Hi. Hi. Keith, are you the amazing person that's been doing Lemma Lane?
I am, yes.
Oh, well done.
We're just about finished it, thank you.
Well done. It's made a big difference. Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Ollie.
It involved going down the odd ditch.
Oh, right.
Managed to get back out again.
Hello, Claire.
Hi, John. There we go.
Oh, there it is. Hello, Jim.
Hi,
Hello.
Jim. Hi, Jim.
Well, people are still joining at the moment, so we'll just give them another minute or two, and then we'll make a start.
This is the moment. This is the moment when we'd be liking to offer you a glass of wine.
People already have one.
Yeah. Very right. Hello. And are these your grandchildren? Looks like we've got some grandchildren joining us.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Have you heard about WDPS?
Yes. Yes, I haven't.
You're going to listen. You're going to listen about tonight.
They've just finished choir practice on Zoom,
Oh,
so they're now watching this for a bit.
Well, the girls are going to do big choir. And I want because I don't have big choir.
okay. Well, that's the benefit of Zoom. We wouldn't be able to have you in the memorial hall right now, would we? Because it's lunchtime. It would be your bedtime, so it's nice you could join us.
Yeah.
It's 3 minutes past 1:30 now, so I think perhaps we ought to make a start. So we're going to start a little screen show in just slideshow in just a moment. But before we do that, could I just ask everybody to mute themselves so we don't have dogs barking in the background or people knocking at the front door or telephones ringing and all the rest of it. So if you can just mute yourselves, there will be an opportunity later on to ask questions and raise issues. So obviously at that point, we'll ask you to unmute. But if for the moment you can mute while people are talking, then that's going to avoid some of the background noise, I think. So if everybody could do that, that would be absolutely great. In the meantime, I shall start up the slideshow. I'm just going to share my screen. Good, so I hope everybody can see that. Welcome to our AGM in 2021. Obviously a little bit different from the way we normally do it in the Memorial Hall, but we're going to try to keep it as close as we can to the usual format. Obviously no wine and nibbles halfway through, I'm afraid, or at least none that we're supplying, but last year we tried having an AGM where different people present different parts of the AGM. We thought that worked fairly well, so we're going to do that again this year. So I'm Richard Brett, and I'm going to do the first part of the AGM, and then we'll pass over to other people. Good. So welcome to the AGM. Great to have you all here. And we'll just begin by running through the agenda for the evening. So after the welcome and introduction, we'll go through any apologies for absence, approval of last year's minutes, and then we'll have a look at the achievements that we've managed to do in 2020 to 2021 over the last 12 months. We'll then look at our future priorities, particularly for the coming year. And then we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the litter campaign, which is something that has taken up quite a lot of our efforts this year. We'll then move on to the Treasurer's report. We'll look at the finances for Wdps, and we shall then we then have a motion actually that we need to put to the AGM. Slight change to our constitution. We'll then have an election for the committee members for the coming year. Then there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers. And as I was saying just now, at that point, we would ask you to unmute if you want to say anything.
That's all right.
Our guest speaker this evening is Martin Malin, who's from Hornbeam Wood Hedgehog Sanctuary. So I'm sure that's going to be very interesting. And then finally, we'll talk about the next phase of the conversion of the United Reformed Church into the chapel gym. So that's what we're going to be looking at this evening. Starting off with apologies for absence. We've just had one actually, which is from Sandra Wood. The next thing I just want to mention is the way in which we're going to be voting. Now, there are a number of things during the course of the evening that we will need to vote on. And the way we do that in the Memorial Hall is just by a show of hands. So the idea is really we'll do the same on Zoom. So when there's a vote, we'll just ask if you can put up your hand if you agree with that, and keep your hand down if you don't. And then we'll probably in most cases, it's either a yes or a no. So we'll do that for the yes, and then we'll do it for the no. So I think that will. And while you've got your hands up, we'll just flick through the little thumbnails and count up the number of people who are voting. So that will be. I think that should work reasonably well. And actually, we have an opportunity to do that right now, to try that out right now. In amongst the documents that we sent was the minutes for the AGM last year. So hopefully if you've managed to have a quick look at that at least. And what we would very much like is somebody who is happy with those minutes to propose that we approve them, and then we'll ask for somebody to second them, and then we'll have a vote on it. So, could I first of all ask somebody to propose the minutes, please? Just raise your hand. We don't need to shout out anything. So if somebody wants to just propose that, if you can just raise their hand.
Trying to find out who's raising their hand.
Let's see if anybody got their hand raised. It's difficult to see it. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. And we need a seconder as well. So if somebody could second. Sarah.
Sarah and Dick.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. And now, having proposed and seconded it, we actually need to vote on it. So if you are happy, if you approve the minutes for the AGM last year, could you please just raise your hands and we will count up the number of people who have their hands raised. Okay, thanks so much. And now, if anybody doesn't approve the minutes for last year, could they raise their hands now, please? as if anybody's got their hands raised. So thank you very much. We have approval. Thank you. Right. We'll now have a look at what we've managed to achieve over the past year. Now, not surprisingly, we haven't been able to achieve all the things that we hoped to achieve this time last year, for the obvious reason that COVID-19 has got in the way. However, I think we have actually achieved a fair bit. I'll just run through now the main points, the main things that we've been doing. I mentioned just now a litter campaign. We've done a lot of work on that, and so much so, in fact, that Ian is going to talk us through that separately in a few minutes' time. So I won't say anything more about that for the moment, but it is one of our major achievements for the year. Last year's AGM, you may remember that a couple of the elders of Wheathampstead United Church, Jane Deller and Jackie Seller, talked us through the plans for the building, and a number of us in Wdps have got fairly heavily involved in the work and planning for what we're going to be doing in the future, as well as actually things like painting and so on. So there has been quite a lot of progress. That's a sort of there's a photograph on the left of the church, on the front of the church, as it was best part of a year ago, and the other picture was taken within the last few days. So you can see that there has been quite a lot of progress there, and things are going on as well. At the moment, as we speak, work is taking place on the ceiling. It's being insulated and replaced, and that's obviously quite an important thing looking forward to the future, because the building is well insulated and is warm when it's going to be occupied as a gym. A lot of other things going on, and we're actually going to be talking about this as well a little bit in a bit more detail later on. So I won't say too much more at the moment. One of the important things that we do is to monitor and review local planning applications, and if we think that a planning application is for something that is going to be detrimental to Wheathampstead, then we object to it. If we think it's something that needs our support or praise, then we write in support of it. There have probably been slightly fewer applications this year than in most years. Again, I think because of COVID-19 and so on. But I will just mention in particular 3 cases that I think are of general interest. One is the old bakery, the old building that until recently was a carpet shop next to the post office. The position there at the moment is that the owners are discharging the conditions that St Albans District Council imposed on them. In other words, they're trying to reinstate the interior to the way that it was before they made a number of changes to it. So at least they're getting as close as they can to the way it was before. Nono's is the new pizza place on the corner of High Street and Church Street. They installed a flue and some rather inappropriate lettering along the Church Street frontage of the building. The position at the moment is that the signage has come down. The sign facing Church Street has been removed, which is good. Obviously, it's a bit more difficult to remove the flue, but that matter is currently with the conservation team at St Albans District Council. A recent problem has been the cherry trees. As you may be aware, an application has recently been approved by St Albans District Council that involves redevelopment of the site, and unfortunately the demolition of the building that was originally the Cherry Trees Public House and currently is an Indian restaurant. The application wasn't called in, unfortunately, and I think the planning officer recommended approval, recommended acceptance, so it actually went through. But the good news is that Wdps have been in discussion or in contact with the owner of the property, and we are actively seeing if there's anything that we can do that might be able to rescue something at least from the situation. The property owner had previously put in a number of other applications, so this one isn't the ideal solution from his point of view. So we'll just need to see if there's any compromise that we can reach there.
Somebody wants to say something, I think.
Okay. Sarah, would you like to say something? Sarah?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you're calling me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you are fading in and out and we're losing at least 50% of what you're saying.
Okay. Okay. Is anybody else having a problem with the sound?
Richard, it's your directional mic. You need to be in the middle of your screen.
Right, okay. Okay. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, sorry about that. Right, okay. Well, I think hopefully you heard enough of what I was saying before for that for it all to make reasonable sense. So I'll move on to the next slide, which is all about aircraft noise, aircraft pollution, increased traffic on the roads, mainly thanks to the expansion of Luton Airport. Now, obviously, that again hasn't been as much of a problem this year as it normally is, but nevertheless, Luton Airport put in an application to increase the number of passengers per year by 1 million. Wdps have objected to that. This is 1 million more than the pre-lockdown numbers. And although it doesn't sound an awful lot, we think that Luton Airport are trying to put in a number of incremental changes, none of which sound too drastic in themselves, but over time will add up. So we oppose that proposal, but we're waiting obviously to see what the outcome is. We also responded to a review carried out by the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority. They produced a very technical document, but we have responded in particular by supporting the principle that we would welcome any moves that give the CAA greater powers to intervene, thinking in particular obviously of Luton Airport. One of the things that we do is to support other local campaigns. The first one actually we have on this slide is Stacks, or St Albans for Quieter Skies. This is very much in line with what I was just describing, but it is important, I think, that we have a Wheat Hampstead presence in Stacks. We don't want them just to be concerned with issues that affect St Albans. We want Wheat Hampstead's voice to be heard as well. The Safe Cycle Route campaign is a relatively new campaign concerned with establishing safe cycle routes, particularly for ordinary cyclists, between Wheat Hampstead and local towns such as St Albans, Welwyn Garden City and Harpenden. There's been one big breakthrough so far. There's been agreement to open up a new cycle route alongside No Man's Land Common. So that's going to make it a lot easier, a lot safer to cycle from Wheat Hampstead into St Albans. The Save Simon's Hyde campaign is another important campaign that we support. there was Rick Sanderson wrote quite a lengthy article in the December 2020 newsletter, which hopefully you've all seen. Rick, is there anything that you want to say in addition to that? I think I spotted you somewhere here.
Yeah, just had to unmute myself.
Okay.
Yeah, briefly, the most significant event in the last few months is that Welwyn Hatfield Council resolved at the end of November that they wanted to make changes to the draft plan that had been submitted to the Secretary of State and was the subject of the current examination by an inspector. They decided that they wanted to reduce the number of houses that would be built, and that they would also want to take Simon's Hyde out of the plan. And there were a few other changes as well that they proposed. The trouble is that the decision is not in the gift of the council. Once the plan has been submitted to the Secretary of State, which it was in 2017, it's up to the inspector to decide what happens. So the examination has been continuing, and there was actually another hearing on Tuesday of this week into the housing need figure, which we're trying to get reduced, because obviously if we can get it reduced, there's more chance of Simon's Hyde being taken out of the plan. So our planning consultant, who we first hired about 4 years ago, but he retired during the course of this examination because it's been going on so long, but he's continuing to work for us on a pro bono basis. He's been doing that for the last 18 months. So he did a big report and he represented us at the hearing on Tuesday and presented our case. We don't know the decision on that because the inspector won't give a ruling on it until after all the hearings is finished and he does his final report. There's another hearing scheduled for the 9th of March on Simon's Hyde, and there'll be a few other sites that will also be examined by the inspector. So we have to appear again on the 9th of March and state our case yet again. But we will do that, and hopefully we will persuade the inspector that there are good reasons why Simon's Hyde shouldn't be in the plan and that there are no exceptional circumstances for taking it out of the Greenbelt.
Thanks very much, Rick. Thank you. That's very helpful. Right. Maintenance of gardens is another of the WDPS responsibilities, mainly Diamond Jubilee Garden and Berry Green Garden. We've done a couple of things in Diamond Jubilee Garden this year. A tree surgeon visited the garden in July, I think it was, and tackled the laurel bush, which you can see on the left of that picture. It was overhanging and depriving a lot of the plants in the bed below of sunlight. So it was good to have that pruned. And we've also done some work on leveling out the grass. And there were some dips. So we've now removed those and it's now a fairly level lawn. Bulb planting, something we do every year. This year we planted some snowdrops in the green. This is just a few yards up the hill from the Swan. And the snowdrops are the ones in the foreground. We planted some daffodils here a few years ago. Those are the ones further up in the picture. So we're hoping there'll be a good display there. And in fact, it's already looking pretty good. If you happen to have been past there, they're looking at their best. The planter below the village sign is something we look after. And this year we took the opportunity to power wash the stone surround, and that's made quite a big difference. It had something like 10 years worth of grime on it, which we were able to largely remove. So that was good. Wandering for Wheat Hampstead is something that we launched just before Christmas. though it's not just for Christmas, it's for all year through. It's a little trail that people can follow around Wheathampstead. It's not in any way competing with the Heritage Trail, but the idea is very much to introduce people to the Heritage Trail or to some points on it, and also to introduce them to the wide variety of things that go on in Wheathampstead. So various businesses, various not-for-profit organisations and so on. So the idea is that people can buy one of the little packs of a questionnaire for £8. There's a series of questions for adults, another series of questions for children. And every time we have received 12 completed correct entries, we'll hold a prize draw, and one of those people will win a small prize. So that's ongoing, and it was very popular over Christmas, and we're hoping that again it will be over Easter and in the summer. As usual, we produced some Christmas cards this year and also a calendar for 2021. So we're happy with the way that went. The newsletter actually is something quite interesting. We took the decision fairly recently that we would only produce a digital version of the newsletter unless people, were not on email or had expressed a particular desire to receive the printed copy. But we have been trying to monitor the uptake of the newsletter. We do get certain statistics through MailChimp. So we are able to get a rough idea of how many people open the email and so on. So I think it probably is quite a useful exercise for us just to check that people are finding it better to have a digital version of the newsletter rather than the original printed version. So I wonder if I could just ask everybody here and now if they think that they are now better informed, or rather actually as well informed now with the digital version of the newsletter as they were when we sent out a printed version. So I'm just wondering if we could just have a show of hands here, really, if you think you are as well informed of what Wdps is doing now as you were when we sent out a printed version. If you could just raise your hand, and we will. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 there. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, thank you, that's good. And now, if I could ask you if you think you are less well informed now with the digital version than you were with the printed version. So if you could just raise your hand, you think you're less well informed. Thank you very much. Well, I think the majority of people seem to think they are as well informed, but it's interesting that some of you don't think that. So there are clearly some conclusions that we will need to reach on that. But thank you for taking part in that quick survey. We have reviewed our website over the course of the past year. Lockdown is actually quite a good opportunity for doing that. We've actually switched the type of website that we use, the way in which it's hosted and the way that it all fits together technically. The content is the same, but the way in which it operates internally is a bit different. It means actually we can now have certainly a larger number of pages, which is always a useful thing. And it also, the other big difference is that it looks just as good on a mobile phone as it does on a great big desktop computer. We had a problem with the earlier website that although it looked good on a desktop, and it didn't look too bad on a laptop, on a mobile phone it didn't really work at all. So and more people, of course, are accessing the internet on a mobile phone. So we've made those changes. The website address is exactly the same as it was before. So www.wheathampstead all one word, .org.uk. If you haven't visited it yet, please do so. If you have any comments, then please let us know what you think. We weren't able to do Village Day, obviously, this year, or Christmas Lights Up. But one thing we were able to take part in was the Christmas market, which was held in the car park at the United Reformed Church. We had a good day. I think the weather was very good for early December, and WDPS had a stall there, and we did very well. So it was great to meet everybody who was able to come along that day. I think a good time was had by all.
The event of the year.
The event of the year, indeed, yes. The other thing we've been doing during the course of the year is to have a bit of a membership campaign. And this has taken three forms, really. The first was we've got in touch with a number of people who were already members, but who hadn't paid their subscriptions. We got in touch with them, and most cases they paid up, so that was good. We also asked people if they could, we asked existing members if they could recommend us to possible new members, and that proved very successful. We've also done a leaflet drop we're really sort of halfway through that. We've done a leaflet drop in a number of roads in the area, being careful actually to only drop leaflets through people that we knew were not already members. So if you were already a member, then you didn't get this, but everybody else did, and that's proved very successful as well. And that the outcome of that is that we now have just over 400 members. Those are both households and businesses, mainly obviously households. And that means that about 16% of all.
So it's all right as it is then. Do you want that to the back?
Could I just ask everybody just to mute, please, so that we don't have any strange noises going in the background. Thanks very much. That means that we actually have about 16% of all households now are members of WDPS, and that actually is very useful when it comes to speaking to St Albans District Council, for example. The more people we can say we represent, the more notice they'll obviously take of us. So thank you very much, particularly if you've joined recently or if you recommended anybody to join. That's been a very good result. So thank you for that. Well, that just about completes the achievements we've made during the past 12 months. So I'm now going to hand over to Julie, who's going to tell us about priorities for the coming 12 months.
Right. I think I need to make sure I'm sitting in the right place on the microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, good. Well done. Okay, thank you. Right, so it's my pleasure to talk about our priorities for the forthcoming year. And I'd like to start off with Anglia in Bloom. Now, this is something that we'd really hoped by now that would be in full swing within Wheathampstead. We put a lot of work into the preparation for Anglia in Bloom in 2020, but sadly that had to be cancelled. And at the moment, I think it's still very much in abeyance, and it's unlikely to actually become a full competition in 2021. But what we want to do is we want to encourage people with important areas in the village to make sure that we're in a really good place to make a crackingly good show for 2022. So the Anglia in Bloom team will be getting together to make sure that we're well prepared for the forthcoming year. Richard mentioned about the membership drive. We've still got ambition to grow our membership. We're now at 400. This time last year we were about 320. So we've done very well, and it is our ambition still to get up to 500 members. And you know, we all know that the more members we have, the stronger the voice that we have. So anything you can help us with continuing to recommend WDPS to your neighbours, then the more the merrier, and the stronger the voice that we have. We talked last year about wanting to paint the youth shelter, but dear old COVID and working parties, etc., has made that difficult for us. But we have now got the paint. We've worked closely with the Wdps Parish Council. They got a grant, and they bought the paint for us, and we're ready, paintbrushes poised, as soon as we can have working parties to get that youth shelter painted. And you'll be pleased to know, I think, that it's going to be green with a few touches of gold as our appropriate colours for the village. Interestingly, there actually on the photograph, we can see that the old litter bin was there, and Ian will tell us later, one of the things we've been campaigning for is new appropriate litter bins, and this one in particular was a dreadful thing that the birds used to get in and scatter the rubbish all over the place. So it's good to see that that's changed now. The Tithe Barn Yard site next to the Crinkle Crankle Wall is an important area for the village, and we're in discussion with the Parish Council to think about how that could be improved and made a real asset to the village. And I think there are some absolutely excellent plans in place, and we're working to help bring those to fruition. So watch this space in that area. And it only does amazing credit to the friends of the Crinkle Crankle Wall and Nigel Oxley, who's a long-standing member of our committee, for the entrance to that garden with the Tithe Barn Yard will be fabulous. Again, last year we talked about doing something with our roundabouts at Station Road and at Marford Road. That's ongoing, lots of work and conversations. Annie Brewster has been working very hard with Herts County Council to see what we can do to make those roundabouts more attractive. So as and when proposals get firmed up and we get Herts County Council agreement, then we'll share that with you, but that sounds pretty exciting news there. Richard mentioned about the monitoring planning applications. We're going to continue to do that. It's a very important part. WDPS has been running for 23 years now, and we originally set up to make sure that appropriate planning applications were passed and defended within the village, and we continue to carry that mantle and take it very seriously. One area that we're concerned about is the proliferation of very large commercial waste bins in the conservation area of our village. Now, I used an example here of the bins outside Nono's, but they're not alone. There are several very large red. Unfortunately, all the waste companies seem to think that red bins are most attractive. So we're entering into conversations. I've actually had a very useful conversation with KP Waste in the last few days, and they're thinking that they might be able to find at least some better colour bins, which would be more fitting for a conservation area. So we're doing some work with them just to try and reduce that eyesore that we see in the centre of a very important village. Again, last year we talked about a happy to chat bench. Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that it really hasn't been a suitable year for people to be sitting on a bench and having a chat. They might deem as being too close together. Who would have thought that would have happened, during this year? But nevertheless, when an opportunity arises and it's appropriate, then we will think about working with various organisations to get that introduced. Richard mentioned about the ongoing maintenance. It's very important that we don't just create a garden and then leave it. Those gardens have never been more actively used than they have in 2020. And we can see that people, will continue to do that in 2021 and beyond. So we want to make sure that they look beautiful and welcoming for everybody. So work continues on those. Work continues on bulb planting, sign cleaning. Again, the resources that Herts County Council have are very limited, and there are certain things that we can do. And this was a very dirty sign along by the Wicked Lady that we got cleaned just recently. But we continue to keep our eyes out for that, and and make sure those signs are clean. We talked last year about a potential visit to White Cottage, which is down by the ford at Water End, which has a beautiful, beautiful garden. And the lady that lives there had offered to open up her garden for an event for Wdps one evening. Well, of course, that wasn't possible, but we're looking to see if that might be possible in the autumn of this year. So watch this space. It'll be, members will be invited first. So I'd like to hand over now to Ian and hope that gives you a good flavour of what we're aiming to achieve in 2021.
Thanks, Julie. Richard, do you want to flip over to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, so you might have seen a few wombles around the village recently. We've been recruiting lots more people to help with litter picking. Obviously, there's a lot of people who've been litter picking for years. One of the things that we felt, particularly as a consequence of COVID, was that it's no longer safe to just be picking up litter with your hands. So we sourced a whole load of litter pickers some were donated by parish council, some from district council, some came from WDPS funds, and we've recruited now quite a lot of wombles. Those of you who are looking very closely will notice I'm wearing my womble t-shirt, especially for this evening, and we've been doing quite a bit more of ongoing PR and awareness, and we've had a lot of good support from both parish and district councils. So parish council, you've probably noticed, have rolled out some new bins, which are all covered bins, meaning that the birds and the animals can't pull everything out. And district council have supported us with quite a few roadverse litter picks and deep clean in the high street, etc. Quite a few things we've got planned for the future. Right bin, right place is actually the phrase was coined by the county council. Let's give them a little bit of credit for that. And we've applied for some additional bins to try and target the hotspots. If any of you have either seen my posts on Facebook or have joined our litter campaign, you might have heard of an app that we've been using called Literati. And Literati geotags all the position of the bits of litter that we collect and also the type of litter that we collect. So we've been able to use that to demonstrate to, for example, the parish council where dog poo is being deposited, because you might have seen some of those discarded dog poo bags around, and also where we see a collection of cigarette butts, so where we might want to get some ashtrays in. So we're working on things like getting bins in the right places. We got a grant from our county councillor, Annie Brewster, to create some reusable pocket ashtrays, so look out for those being launched quite soon. And smart bin technology, if you've ever seen them, they are in some places around the country, are smart bins. They compact the litter, they have solar panels to power the compactor, and they tell the council when the bin needs to be emptied, which is, we think, quite a great feature. So we're going to hopefully run a trial this year on that. Might also just do a shout out to Webb, who gave us a donation for some prizes that we helped get people involved. I should of course mention the youngsters. We've had quite a lot of kids come and help us and support us, and we've supplied some short litter pickers for the kids, and also Farbrew supplied some prizes for us. So that's it. Lots happening on the litter front, and I hope you're noticing some improvements. Thank you.
So can we pass over to Di now, please, to hear about the accounts?
Yes, you certainly can. Hi everybody, I'm Di Black, our treasurer, and I'll take you through our summary of our accounts for 2020. So in terms of income for 2020, this was down by about 20% year on year. And this was mainly driven by the fact that we obviously haven't had as many projects underway. We would normally get donations for them projects. In terms of the actual lines themselves, as Julie mentioned, we had a membership drive. We've actually seen a 17% increase in our membership fees and donations, which is fantastic. We get a bit of interest from our savings account. It's a penny more than last year. And actually our merchandise sales were up year on year by over £600, and that reflected the fantastic sales that we had at the Christmas market. So thank you to everybody who has either contributed to them sales, and obviously everyone for their donations and fees. In terms of expenditure, advertising was in line with last year, printing and stationery in line, but actually more focused on the campaign, the membership campaign, as opposed to we obviously moved to digital for our newsletter. Less on the AGM, Village Day and Christmas market, obviously, and then in line in terms of the merchandise, etc. And less in terms of the bulbs and planting, as we obviously couldn't have as many working parties. So expenditure again down around about 30% year on year, which gives us an overall position as Wdps is our balance sheet for the end of the year. So we brought forward £9,353, made up from both the Santander account and the Harpenden account. We made a small profit for the year of £711, bringing our balance as at the end of the year at £10,064.71, made up of over 6,000 in the Harpenden Building Society, our savings account, and nearly 4,000 in our current account.
Sorry, Di.
Oh, are you there? Once again, Michael Weaver, 31st of December. He is very well. He's had his vaccine. He also had a double cataract operation as well, but he is very well, and he audited our accounts. And I want to send a thank you to him. This year, instead of, we normally give him some wine, but this is a shameless plug for his book. He's wrote a book about his life, and I've got a copy. He's given me a signed copy, which is lovely, which I'll share with the rest of the team. But it's all proceeds of this book are going to the Keach Hospice. So we have also sent a donation to the Keach Hospice to say thank you to Michael for looking at our accounts. So we're going to try to use our voting. So could I please, for formal approval of the accounts, could I please have a proposer, please, to raise your hand? Thank you. I can see Julie's hand raised. Thank you. Seconder? Thanks, Eve. and a vote.
Sorry, Duncan. Oh, sorry. Go. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Excellent. Thank you. So that is formal approval of the accounts. Thank you very much, Julie and Richard.
Thank you. I think the
next. Oh,
go.
Sorry, Julie.
Carry on.
Sorry. Yeah. And next is the Michael has also agreed to do the accounts next year. So can we vote on the appointment of Michael Weaver as the honorary auditor for 2021? Proposer, please. Thank you, David and Jane. Seconder.
I think Ian. Thank you.
Ian, thank you. And a vote. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much, Di. Right. I'd just like to ask for a moment of your time to put forward a motion that we need to make an amendment to the WDPS constitution. Now, I did send some information on the Zoom link to this meeting, which you may or may not have had a chance. But just in a very quick summary, when the society was formed in 1995, 2 trustees were appointed as indefinite trustees for WDPS. One was Stephen Larkham and one was Chris Coles. These duties, as specified in the Constitution, relate to holding all property, including investments, excuse me, belonging to the society, and doing this in accordance with instructions of the committee. And secondly, if the society was dissolved, to convert any property that we had into money and to discharge any liabilities and disposing of the remaining balance. Now, in practice, all decisions within for the governance of the society are undertaken by the committee, and the services of the trustees have actually never directly been used. With the exception of a small amount of marketing material, then WDPS really doesn't hold any property. You know, obviously, we've just mentioned we have about £10,000 in the balance in the building societies. Steve Larkham has moved away from Wheathampstead last year, and Chris Coles would like to resign as being a trustee. So we have a proposal of an amendment to our constitution, which is shown here on the slide, which basically removes the need for us to have trustees and to pass those responsibilities for you know, the use of any assets that WDPS has, or if we were to be wound up to make sure that the money is suitably passed on to another organisation, to pass those responsibilities to the committee. So we would like to ask for you know, sort of the members' endorsement of that. We already have a proposer of Richard Brett, and we have a seconder of Diane Black, which we thought would make life more simple. So now if we could have a vote of hands, maybe we could just ask for anybody that doesn't support that, that motion to raise their hands, then that might make voting a little more smooth in this way. If we would just go through the list of screens. Okay, so
you need to have your hand in the camera.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the vast majority of people here agreeing with the motion. Can I just check?
She asked.
Sarah and Dick, did you have your hand up as you were objecting to the motion, or was that just a moving the camera?
My concern is not so much that I'm objecting to it, is I just don't have the text in front of me of what the particular sections say. So it's a bit difficult to read the amendments in context. I mean, presumably WDPS is going to have trustees. I don't see how, if it's a charity, it can continue without trustees.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. It's a good thing to clarify. We're actually not a charity. We're a social organisation with a very simple constitution. And for those, there actually is no requirement to have trustees. They can operate purely as a committee which form and deliver the the constitution for the society. So we're actually not a registered charity. Dick, in terms of, I don't want to rush this. We did send out with the email that sent the Zoom link, we sent out quite a detailed paper that showed the changes to the Constitution. If you'd like to have a look at that and get back, we can have a conversation further outside this meeting. I'll be very happy to do that.
Well, I think I'll, for the time being, just abstain. That's the best thing to do.
Thank you very much.
And then if having looked at it all, I've got any continuing concerns, obviously I'll have a word with you.
Lovely.
And there's always next year's AGM if I really feel unhappy. Okay.
Of course, there is. Be very happy to talk to you about it any time, Dick. That's
okay.
no
Thank you
very much. Thank you, and thank you for helping me with a clarification about the charity. Right, so thank you very much. Now what I'd just like to move on to is the election of the committee members for the forthcoming year. First of all, we have two committee members which are standing down. Katie Morris stood down at this time last year, and we've had an opportunity to thank her very much for all the work that she's done for WDPS already. And Katie, I believe you're with us, and we continue, we miss you on the committee, and continue to be very appreciative of all the work you did for us. And this year, Eve Richardson, who has been on the committee for several years now, and she took a particularly strong role in planning application reviews and also the aviation noise campaigning. And she's made a huge contribution to WDPS over a number of years. She'll be a very hard act to follow, but I thought you might just like to see the gift that we gave her just a couple of days ago was one of the Wheathampstead books, which Diane Payne will be telling us about in a second or two, and also some beautiful handmade paper irises, which were made from a local business in Wheathampstead, Chantal Fisher, and so we're able to present those to Eve this week with our thanks from WDPS for all the work that she's done on the committee. The good news is that we've got two new committee members joined us throughout the year. That's Christine Boyles and Jan Knights. They're both already making a huge contribution to the committee, and we're very, very pleased to have them. And also we're very pleased to mention that all the other committee members are prepared to stand again for re-election. So I guess what I'd like now is a proposer and a seconder for that committee to support you and to deliver the objectives we were talking about during 2021. So can we have a proposer, please? Oh, we had a hand. I think we just missed. Lovely.
Chrissy, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chrissy. And then I think we've got Andrew. Okay. Okay. We've lost you on the screen, but I caught you earlier on. Lovely, thank you very much. That's lovely. So can we have a vote for all those in favour of the proposed committee? Lovely. Thank you very much. That's superb. Right, Diane, are you with us? Have I seen Diane? I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Lovely. Okay, Diane, over to you. Just to give us a quick outline of your book.
Can you just unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, right. Thank you very much for the invitation to talk to you. I've been offered 2 minutes to speak, so I'm just going to make 2 points. Firstly, one of my aims in writing this book was to raise awareness and encourage pride in our village, a village with a rich historical century history of Wheat Hampstead for the first time. It is, if you like, an extension to the Heritage Trail with its attractive plaques and the walks around the village. The Preservation Society also aims to raise awareness and encourage pride in our village. So we're actually all singing from the same song sheet. And just as concerned to conserve the village from harm and destruction, as happened when Town Farm was demolished in 1971. So my book focuses on continuity and change, so that people reading it can understand the continuity of the heritage that is around them, but at the same time see that the village is changing, moving forward into the 21st century. Secondly, I feel passionately that if local history is to appeal to a wide readership and attract people who don't normally read history books, it must include stories, it must be about people, and it must have lots of illustrations to arouse curiosity and lead the eye onwards. More than that, it must be a quality product, just as the Heritage Trail is a quality product. But don't just take my word for it. Most of you know Nick Schoen, who lives in the village. He has illustrated 120 children's books. Soon after he bought a copy of my book, he sent a text message and he said, "It's beautiful. I've just scanned through it and it's a lovely thing in itself. I know that a quality book like this is not a simple thing to do. You've done a great job." I've worked as a volunteer for the last 15 years with Nick Overhead, a retired magazine editor, who did the layouts for the book. Initially, this was at Bushy Museum and Art Gallery, where I lived. And there I wrote books and curated an award-winning World War I exhibition. My first book for West Hampstead in 2017 sold all the 400 copies that I had printed. Many Preservation Society members give their services in practical ways. My contribution is time and expertise focused on education, history, and heritage. This book is not a commercial operation, so I will not gain personally from it at all. When sales have covered the cost of design and printing, any profit will go to charity. Finally, marketing this book has been very difficult during lockdown because people don't see each other or pass on recommendations by word of mouth. Emails and online adverts, if they are not acted on immediately, soon get buried by dozens of others. My book's available on a special offer of £10 until the 31st of March. You can save the £3 postage by collecting from my house in Folly Fields just outside the village. So I know quite a number of people in this group have bought, some of them up to 5 copies. Please buy one, let your friends know about it, so that your work conserving what is best about our village is based on an understanding of our heritage and an appreciation of just how fortunate we are to live in Wheathampstead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. That was a good insight into a magnificent book. So thank you very much indeed. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is to open up to a question and answer session before we move on to hear from dear Martin about his hedgehogs. Just an opportunity for anybody to ask any questions of WDPS. So I think we'll stop sharing the screen now so that we can see better on the people who are putting their hands up. So has anybody got a question or two that they would like to ask?
You need to stick your hand up.
Right, Chrissy. Oh, you're still on mute, Chrissy. You're on mute, Chrissy. Chrissy, I'm sorry, we need to ask you to unmute, Chrissy.
All right, sorry, it wouldn't work. But can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is and I've mentioned to some of you before. Something I belong to now. Is that too loud?
We struggle to hear you. Sorry, Chrissy.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Yes. No. I'm sorry, Chrissy, I'm sorry, it's not coming through. How about you put something in the chat at the bottom and we'll try and pick that up.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, you've got a problem with your mic.
I'm not.
Sorry. I don't think it's just us that can't hear, is it? No. Okay.
Am I speaking in the... Can you hear me if I speak here?
Wait, it's not coming through, Chrissy. I'm sorry. No. Okay.
If you can just type something into chat, Chrissy, I think that might be the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to you when we've got your chat. Okay. Sorry about that. Technology is great, but it's not always perfect, is it? So, have we got anybody else would like to raise a question? So, yes, okay, right. Sarah and Dick, you're on mute at the moment. Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, that's good.
Yes. On future focus, could I just mention Mill Walk? I've now lived in Wheathampstead for about 6 years, and I go down very frequently going into the village, and particularly in the summer, it always strikes me that as you walk down past the shops there, it's very dark and the sun doesn't seem to get through. And I think it's probably because of the overhanging boughs from the property on the other side of the stream. And I just wondered whether anybody's given any thought to perhaps having those overhanging boughs cutting back so as to open up Mill Walk so that it's a much lighter environment down there. In winter, it's particularly dark, of course, because although there are less leaves, the days are shorter. I just mentioned that as perhaps something which you might like to think about taking forward.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good point. We did probably, oh my gosh, I guess it must be many years ago, maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago now. We did do some work in conjunction with McIntyre's that own that piece of land, and did, you know, sort of cut those trees back. So it's a very good reminder. Thank you very much. It probably is a good idea to go and revisit that and see what's appropriate. So much appreciated. Thank you. We'll give it some thought. Anybody else? Any questions? Clicking between the screens. Right, have we got Chrissy's? Chrissy, could we consider a life membership of WDPS? At my age, I fully intend to support the rest of my life, and the lump sum could be useful for the organisation, maybe £150. Thank you, Chrissy. That's a really good suggestion. Very good suggestion indeed. Okay, thank you. We'll have a chat about that as committee members. You're not alone. Somebody has mentioned that to us also earlier this year. So okay, thank you. We'll give that some thought. Can you hear me okay, Chrissy? Okay, right. Okay, fair enough then. Can I just remind you that everybody that's not talking, can you put your mics on mute? I think we're having some trouble. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? This is very hard. Right. Am I right in thinking that there's no more burning questions? If you can take your mic off mute and just let me know if there is anything else. And I can't see anybody with hands up. There is a bad feedback in this, isn't there? Okay, fair enough. So what I propose we do is we take 5 minutes break, go and grab yourself a fresh drink or what have you, and come back, and then we'll be ready for Martin to about his wonderful hedgehogs. Okay, and hopefully everybody can put their mics on mute. Okay, 5 minutes. Hello, are we ready to make a fresh start? Had a chance to fill your glasses and do whatever? Okay, Christine, can we ask you if you would introduce Martin for us?
Yep, yeah, I'm just one moment, I'm just unmuting myself. Yep, the guest speaker today is Martin Malin, and he's the founder of the Hornbeam Wood Hedgehog Society. So he looks after all our little friends. And so over to you, Martin.
Hi there, hi everyone. Just to let, if I
Hi.
go on a bit too long, you can all hear me, I'm assuming. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. If I go on too long, just cut me off, or let me just butt in and cut me off if I go too long. One thing I have noticed is motions on the video seem to take over some of the feed in Zoom. I don't know if everyone can see the screen that I've got on. I'm assuming they can, so it's a sort of welcome screen. But yeah, I'm Martin. From Hornbeam. I'll be very quick because I've got too much time, but I'm just going to go briefly through British wild hedgehogs, talk about why they're in danger.
Sorry, Richard, are you able to allow Martin to share his screen?
Yeah, it's not sharing at the moment, Martin.
Yeah, I figured. You have to probably click something to share the screen somewhere.
It's shared on my screen.
Or maybe it's because I think when you get some videos, when you get motion of a video, it then comes up on the screen. I can see someone's desktop.
Yes.
Sue and Tony.
I think you've accidentally shared your screen.
Can we take that off?
Somebody's shared the screen. Is it yourself, Julie?
No.
No, I think it's Sue and Tony. Well, actually, maybe it's us. It's not us. Oh, crikey. What can we do? You were viewing Susan's screen. View options.
Julie, I think it was me. I thought we had to press the share screen thing. So
No. You could.
If you can unshare your screen.
Near the top, you should see a message saying stop share,
yes.
or something worse.
New share.
There should be something that says stop share.
No, the only one I've got
sharing. Hold on. Right.
Share.
Okay. I've done it.
Sorry, everybody.
Right. Right. Okay. Shall we try again? So now we think, Martin, you should be able to share your screen.
Yes.
Is it so? How do I do it? Do I go full screen, or I mean, it's just the camera? I don't really want to share my screen, my desktop. I just wanted the camera to be in full view. I guess.
Okay.
That's
yeah. Okay. So I think if everybody can just can view this in speaker view rather than gallery view, then they should that should work.
Yeah. Yeah, you might have to mute some of the people, but because I see the microphone's unmuted. But I don't know much about Zoom, but I assume there's something as a host you'd be able to kind of push my screen to everyone. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but.
I am looking at a shared screen. I don't know what you're all seeing.
Can you see British wild hedgehogs? A little hedgehog curled up in a ball.
Okay.
Hedgehogs presented by, and it's just gone off.
Yeah, I think it's because when the microphone comes on, your screen comes on to everyone else's.
Yeah.
Now I can see you again, and my screen still says British wild hedgehogs.
Okay.
Good.
All right. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I'll try not to go on too long, but so there's a few things I want to talk about very briefly. Why hedgehogs are endangered, ways, things that are actually forcing the hedgehogs into a bad situation and why they're becoming endangered, and also ways that you can help British wild hedgehogs. And then after that, I'm going to briefly talk about the sanctuary itself and what we do, and then volunteering at the very end. So I'll be very quick because I've only got about 4 or 5 slides, but there's a lot of details on the slides. So this, you might not be able to see, this is quite detailed here, but there's actually a graph here showing dates, key dates in the history of why hedgehogs are becoming endangered. They are on the red list becoming endangered. So very briefly, we have about 1 million hedgehogs left in the UK, which doesn't, it may seem a lot, but it's not considering the size of the UK. A lot of the reasons for their decline are habitat loss, but also roads are quite a high kill rate for hedgehogs, historically and even now. And so most of the hedgehogs we do have in the UK are disappearing from the countryside. So, but we've lost about 50% of hedgehogs in the last decade from the countryside and about a third from the towns and cities. So threats to hedgehogs. So very briefly, obviously the biggest threat to hedgehogs, and it goes for most wildlife, is people in general in some form, and obviously not people themselves, but things that people do indirectly that do affect wildlife, and particularly hedgehogs. So cars and trucks are a big issue. They hurt a lot of hedgehogs, and it's normally fatality. Intensive farming, so large agricultural fields, intensive rotating crops continuously 4, 5, 6 times a year rather than traditionally a lot less. So big farming. Then we've got bonfires, which are bad for hedgehogs, strimmers. There's also poisons in the gardens, particularly slug pellets are very bad, and insecticides in general. And then we've got compost heaps. So sometimes hedgehogs like to go in compost heaps because they become warm when they sort of decompose, and they like to go inside there. So if you've got a fork or something in a compost heap, just be wary, there could be hedgehogs in there. And other things that can hurt hedgehogs are also rat traps, holes in the ground so they can get trapped, drain covers open. Motorways become unpassable, so invisible walls to hedgehogs. Ponds, they are very good swimmers, hedgehogs, but ponds can pose a risk. If they fall into a pond and they can't get out again, they end up drowning. And then there's the rubbish and the netting. So some people put netting over allotments and things like that. As long as they're a foot above the ground, it's fine. But if they're drapesing on the floor, often because of the spines in the hedgehogs, they get wrapped and trapped in netting. Plastic beer clasps are very dangerous because they get their head entangled in those. Plastic bags can be as well because they've got a loop in there, so they're quite bad. Plastic bottles, pretty bad. And tubes, so anything a hedgehog can kind of get into, but then they can't get out again. So they're kind of the main threats to do with people, but not directly from people. And then there's environmental threats they've got. So starvation is a big thing, particularly now, this time of the year. So hedgehogs have been hibernating, obviously, over the sort of winter time, and they're coming out of hibernation now-ish because it's got warm, up until the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks. When they come out of hibernation, they're very thirsty, very hungry, so they're desperate for food. So it's a good idea, if you can, to feed hedgehogs and also give them water. Sometimes hedgehogs can be isolated, as in trapped inside a garden or an area, and they are unable to find food. Also, large rainfall during the months where they have offspring, hoglets, baby hedgehogs, and normally from spring to autumn time. If there's a large amount of rainfall, often the family can drown. The mother hedgehog can take 1 hoglet at a time and move them, but not the whole lot, obviously. So that can pose a risk for the babies. And then I've talked about heat stroke and dehydration. So in the summer months, when the ground is really dry, there's no water for them, they do suffer from dehydration. And in the cold months, there's pneumonia as well. So when it's really cold, they can, especially the juveniles, teenage hedgehogs and the hoglets, can suffer from cold. Not so much the adults, though. But one of the biggest things that hedgehogs generally have issues with is a disruption during the months when they are having hoglets, and when the mother's disrupted by something or someone, often the mum will just run away and not come back again. And then you get orphan hoglets, and they can't fend for themselves without the mum. So ways you can help hedgehogs. So very briefly, this is orientated around gardens, but it kind of, you can look at it as a bigger, if you've got parks and things like that, it works there as well. But the biggest thing to help hedgehogs is to have access through gardens. So a small 13 centimetre hole in fence or walls is probably the biggest things you can do to help hedgehogs. It allows them to freely go through gardens, because gardens are great for hedgehogs. Watch your sheds, garage doors, greenhouses. Make sure that there's no hedgehogs in there. Often they can come in if the door's open, and then you close the door, they become trapped inside there. Fix potential traps like open drains, netting, rubbish, and things like that on the floor. Provide ramps in ponds. So if you've got a pond that has a vertical edge to it, just provide a ramp in there with its wood, bricks, or something that the hedgehogs can clamber out of to make sure they don't drown if they do fall into the pond. And with hedges are a big thing. Traditionally, hedgehogs, they love hedges. So hedges are very important, and it's good to maintain hedges, but you don't want to cut them all down. You just need to trim to make sure they maintain the hedge. And if you don't do anything to a hedge, become trees, which is not as good, obviously, for hedgehogs. So maintaining hedges is very good for hedgehogs as well. And if you wanted to plant things like wildflowers, fruit trees, and all that kind of stuff, it's fantastic for hedgehogs as well. In the home, as in your garden, if you do have piles of leaves and twigs or logs, stack them up at the end of the garden, because they provide great insulation material for hedgehogs to make nests. It's a really good thing for them. And also, if you can, leave gaps under the sheds, because they do like to go underneath the sheds. It's a nice, safe place for them. And also, you can build a hedgehog house or buy a hedgehog house in your garden. That will really help them out. And then there's food and water. If you place food out for them, a feeding station, so food can be jelly-based dog or cat food. You can actually get hedgehog food or maybe dried cat biscuits. Fantastic. And just a shallow bowl of water, no milk. And then after that, I think we've just got, so I've got Hornbeam Wood Hedgehog Sanctuary. That's all the ways that you can help hedgehogs. So what we do at the sanctuary, so we're a charity, we're entirely volunteer run. The history of the sanctuary, some of you may or may not know, there's someone called Graham Dangerfield who's passed away now. And there was a sanctuary, a general wildlife sanctuary. And when I was a kid, I used to volunteer there many years ago in the 80s. And then about 6-7 years ago, Graham sold up that sanctuary, and I bought a good chunk of it with all the pens and things like that, not the whole lots. So I worked at the sanctuary when I was a kid, and now I run the charity Rescuing Hedgehogs at the same places, using the same pens, just on the same land. The charity was formed in 2015. So basically what we really do is rescue hedgehogs. We assess their health conditions, rehabilitate them, and then they're released back into the wild again. Majority of the cases. Some don't because they are blind, but most of them are. Some of the hedgehogs we have in rehabilitation can be 1 day or can be 7 months, depending on the time of the year. And I also hold educational talks for children's groups, Beavers Cub Scouts, Girl Guarding, and local community groups as well. And I do that on site, or I can obviously come to those locations. So when they're in our care, the general process is looking for ticks removal, fly eggs, a little larva, looking for small wounds, cleaning and tending them. We sex them, we weigh them, and then we get a health chart and we monitor their progress while they're in rehabilitation. So that's about us. Now, what I'm going to briefly show you now, so we are entirely volunteer run, and there are lots of projects we have coming up this year, but there's one particular project I'd like to talk to you about, and maybe you might be able to help, or if you know someone who might be able to help, and it's to do with planting of hedgerows and trees at the sanctuary. So what I'm going to show you now, this is a map. I'm assuming you can all see this. This is an overhead map on Google Maps. Wheat Hampstead, let's have a look here. So Wheat Hampstead is here, and then Bowers Heath is over here, and this is where the sanctuary is. So if I zoom into this area, so we're in the Wheat Hampstead Parish District, which borders directly onto the Harpenden. So if I zoom into this area here, which you should all be able to see, this land is 10 acres. This is Hornbeam Wood Hedgehog Sanctuary. This is Common Lane here. There is a woodland here inside the sanctuary, and there's all the old pens and all the old the stable blocks here and sheds and things like that. All the original pens we still use, and most of them we've been refurbishing them. This here is Graham Dangerfield's old house. It's not part of Hornbeam Wood Hedgehog Sanctuary. This is 10 acres here, and then the old Dangerfield House is there, but this is actually the sanctuary here, the Hornby Wood Hedgehog Sanctuary. Now, what I'm hopefully going to do this year is get a grant from the Woodland Trust and like to plant some, because it's quite a large area, like to plant or reinstate some hedging that has gone over the years, many years ago. This is a public footpath down here. I don't know what number it is. I think it's public footpath 60. This is a public footpath here. I think that's number 53. This public footpath here is the boundary between Harpenden and Wheathampstead. So this is the sanctuary's in Wheathampstead, and then this is Harpenden. There's a big gap down here where there used to be a hedgerow, but it was being ripped out or taken away at some point in the past. And I'd like to reinstate the hedgerow along there. So if there are volunteers who want to help me with that, that would be fantastic. I'd also like to plant some trees along this old tree line here, which have gone over the years. So yeah, so that's that. I'm going to stop it there because I'm not entirely sure how much time I've got, but I will put it on a socials. So we do have a website, hornbeanwood.org.uk. We have a shop if you want to help support us, and there's also lots of social media sites we have, which is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and all the rest. If you want to follow what we're up to as well. But I don't know if we're taking questions, but if there are questions, if you let me know, Julie, if that is the case. If not, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me to your AGM and your time. Thank you very much.
That's lovely, Martin. Yeah, well, Julie and I will have a chat about that voluntary planting, and we'll get back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, okay. We have got a moment or two. If anybody's got any questions for Martin, can we? Would you like to unmute yourself and let us know?
Hello, I've
Hi
got
there.
a question. Hi. Yeah. Martin, do you get help from vets? Do they give their services for free?
Yeah, so some do, some don't, but so the majority of the local ones do. So the vets we use predominantly are Nine Lives vets in Redbourne, who are fantastic. They're now Medivets. Alistair Pool vets and Ickfield vets, and all of them are hugely supportive of what we do. And without the vets, to be honest with you, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of things that we do, because we don't deal with major injuries, fractures, large wounds, things like that. We can't deal with that. We can only deal with small injuries. So without the vets' help, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing.
And do you need more sites to when they're well and they need to be let back out?
So we're always so they're called release sites, and we're
Release
always
sites,
we're always looking for release sites, especially in the local area. We have quite a few. I know there's some people here actually. I think Annie, I think she is a release site. I did see her.
I have volunteered, but I think because of COVID, nothing much can happen right now.
Okay, yeah. So there's particularly in this area, we're always looking for release sites, gardens especially, only because more of the hedgehogs we receive that are injured or need help come from gardens generally, because that's where they're found most of the time, but also large areas, large fields, parks as well. But yeah, so we do have a form on our website you can complete if you're interested in becoming a release site. At the moment it's difficult because of COVID. I normally come and have a look at your garden to make sure it's all good for the hedgehogs to be released into.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all. Thank you for your work. It's amazing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just flicking between the screens. Is there anybody else that has got a burning question?
Hi there.
Oh, Rick.
Just wanted to ask, when we're not in lockdown, is the sanctuary open to visitors?
It's not open to the public, and there's a number of reasons for that, but it's mainly because for insurance reasons. But what we do is educational talks. So if you know the Herts and Middlesex Wildlife Trust, we're in partnership with them, and throughout the year there's about 8 or 9 talks, educational awareness talks I do for the Herts and Middlesex Wildlife Trust and their members. And you can book on a talk, I think it's £8 or something like that, and then we as a charity receive 50% of that to the hedgehogs. And those talks are throughout the year, but COVID stopped all that, unfortunately. So that's the only way really you can come and visit the sanctuary. It's through the Herts and Middlesex Wildlife Trust. As there's just it's called Discover Hedgehogs on their website, and through that you'll be able to visit us. If you are a leader or a group of children, so Beavers, Cubs, Scouts, Brownies, all the rest of it, you can visit anytime. You just have to make a booking. They're educational talks though. For adults, it's slightly different though.
Thank you very much. That sounds that sounds fascinating, and maybe it's something that we should think about arranging a talk with the Herts Middlesex Trust for WDPS members, and we could organise something between us from Wheathampstead in that way.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, thank you, Martin. That's been really fascinating. You know, it's amazing to think about. You know, there's so much to understand about hedgehogs, and you've helped us all to understand a little bit more about what we can do in our own gardens to help. And we'll certainly, as Christine says, we'll certainly discuss as a committee what we think we can do regarding any support for you in terms of your hedgerow and your trees. We
Fantastic.
would say that WDPS has made a donation to Martin and Hedgehogs today for the benefit of your talk. So thank you very much indeed for that. That's
really
appreciated.
That's really kind of you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Oh yeah, we've got John Berland's dog joined us. He's rather sweet, isn't he? I hope he's very interested in hedgehogs as well. That's very good. Okay. So the very last thing on our agenda for this evening was to hear from Jane Della with a quick update about the chapel gym. So if you can just
before you do that, can I just say, it's ordinarily we would have applauded Martin. I don't know how the hell you do that on Zoom, but can we just give him a sort of virtual applause?
Okay. Perfect. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Right. Are you sharing screen? Right. Okay. We're just resharing the screen. Sorry about that, Martin. Yes, you're absolutely right, Ian. Good point. It's very hard managing the technology and all the bits and pieces.
I've never done that before. How do you do a virtual clap?
Yeah, we learn. Right. Okay. We're going down. We're just sharing the screen. Right, okay. Jane, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, lovely. If we could just pass over to you for a quick update about the chapel gym.
Yes, I can't really believe it's a whole year since I stood up quite anxiously in the Marford Hall for the first time to talk to you about the crowdfunding that we were aiming to set up to try and get things started for the chapel gym. Our aim was that we were going to try and get the electricity reconnected because it was so worrying that it was going to cost us about £5,000. We thought this was going to be really very difficult to raise. So it was amazing that we managed that in the crowdfunding that went into the beginning of lockdown, and everybody thought that was incredible, really. The cost could have ended up being rather more than the 5,000, but fortunately Jarvis were wonderful. They built us, dug us a trench, which saved a great deal of money, about £1,600 that they would have added to the cost of having the electricity reconnected. So we were very grateful to them for that. And then they went on to investigating the state of the wiring in the church and the hall and rewiring them all for us, which was an incredibly generous piece of work for them to do. And we were really absolutely stunned by it. I don't know if you can put my next slide up. That's it. This is what the inside of the church looks like at the moment, because we have currently got an enormous amount of scaffolding at the height of 4 meters. We've got floorboards across the whole of the church, which means that you can now see all of the ceiling area much better than normal, because we've taken down the ceiling boards. They've been removed in preparation for doing the insulation of the ceiling and their replacement with new boards. So this is a very unusual view. We can't normally see all the beams. That's just rather extraordinary. And it's possible because we did a second crowdfunding in the autumn where we were raising £10,000, we hoped. And actually we ended up, because there was a lot of match funding we managed to latch into, we managed to make £21,000, which has really given us an enormous start, because this ceiling repairs and the insulation of the roof space turned out to be costing rather a lot of money. So we're now moving on to the last section of work, really, before we can start actually putting in the gym type equipment. And this is to make sure that the floor is going to be strong enough to withstand the additional weight of what's going to be in the gym, and also to make sure that the damp proof course is improved so that we don't have to worry about having our decorations spoilt on a regular basis and keep on needing to interrupt the use of the building. So we're trying very hard to raise a similar sum of money to what we raised in the autumn, hopefully by getting some match funding involved. But we do need to try and get ourselves to get some more crowdfunding, possibly from people who've only just discovered that we're trying to build the gym in the church. Because we do, every now and then, we find people who've just come across us on the Facebook page or Instagram, and they say, oh, well, we didn't know anything about you doing crowdfunding. So hopefully we'll get a few more people interested in moving us on to this next stage. The crowdfunding is going to be starting fairly imminently, and hopefully that will be available very soon after the weekend. And it's wonderful to know that WDPS are kickstarting that new crowdfunding by giving us £250. I'm really very appreciative to the committee for allowing that to happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the AGM and our meeting this evening. I hope you've all found it interesting. It's been great to see everybody again, even if it is only online. And I'm afraid this is really where we say goodnight. But we very much hope that we'll be able to see you again next year. We were actually very lucky last year that we managed to hold our AGM just before lockdown began. So we were able to do it in the Memorial Hall. And we hope very much that we will be able to do so again next year, when we can meet up face to face. We can have wine and nibbles in the interval, and everything we hope will be back to normal. I think it just remains to thank everybody for coming along this evening. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. And we'll see you again next year. So, bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Everybody.
Thanks, Julie and Richard, for all your work.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Julie and Richard. Lovely AGM.
Thanks, then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good to see you all. Cat's come say goodbye.
Cat's taking over now.
Very well behaved until then.
Oh. Hi, Sue.
Okay. Good to see you, Linda. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Very pleased I came along tonight.
Oh, good.
Yeah, very interesting. Doing a tremendous job. But
okay, all right. Just tell Philip next year we need some photographs. Okay.
I'll tell Philip. I will tell him.
Okay.
And hopefully we will be in the hall next year.
Hope so, yes. Yeah.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
There's plenty of time, isn't there?
Yeah, another year. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that it'd be possible from sort of late summer onwards, really, wouldn't it?
I'm hoping so. I mean, Village Day is very don't know really.
Yeah,
Maybe we can do something later in the summer, but we'll just have to see. Yeah.
Well, at least Village Day's outside, isn't it? So.
Yes, exactly.
Should be possible, shouldn't it? I would have thought.
I hope so. Yeah, we have sort of, you know how you discuss it, but you can't really make any decisions.
No.
It's all just vague discussions. We just don't know, but it would be good if we could do something. Yeah, definitely. Perhaps more August than July. I don't know, but
maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, and you got new people on the committee. I was very impressed.
Yes.
Yeah. Well done. It's going well. Yeah.
New blood is always useful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I like the hedgehogs. That was very interesting.
Yeah. It worked. Did it work okay?
Yeah, it was all fine. I mean, I think the trouble is that whenever you're using technology, there's always going to be blips, isn't there? But you know what? Nobody cares. Everyone's fine about it. It's just what it is, isn't it? And you got a good crowd as well.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was it? Yeah.
Well, I think it was 34 screens, but you've got to then add, I don't know, I mean, how many people doubled up? Quite a few people were doubled up. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know if anybody did a count, but
no.
That's a pretty good crowd, I would have said.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's you know, similar to what we would have got in the Memorial Hall, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Well, no awards this year, but hopefully we can have some awards next year.
Awards? Oh, yeah, I know, but you know,
it wasn't good.
You just can't do it. It's just no, but it went very well, very slick, and yeah, and up to your usual standard.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very good.
Well done, Julie Richard. I think you did a great job.
I will go and tell Philip what you said. What was that, Sue? What did you say?
I said I think Julian Richard did a great job. I just take my hat off to you.
It wasn't just us, but
well, no, it was yeah.
Richard spent a long time on those slides. It's lots to pull together.
I bet he did.
I'm sure he did.
No. But it really makes a difference. It makes it very interesting. Do you know what I mean? Because AGMs can be not very interesting, if you know what I mean. It's very easy, I think, for that to happen. But no, it was lovely. It set me up for the weekend, so thank you.
Okay, good to see you. Okay,
bye.
It's been a long day. Sue, it's been a long day, hasn't it?
You know what? We had such a long meeting last night.
Oh, really? Yeah.
You know, it was about 10, and I thought, I don't know, but yeah, it's fine. It's
good. Well done. Well, Sue and I were on a breakfast meeting this morning at 8:45 or something. So it has been quite a long day, isn't it? But anyway, there we go.
I've
you can relax now. Weekend's here.
So you go and have you at least you haven't got to put everything in the car and drive home.
No, that's
absolutely. Unpack it all, pack it all away.
Put all the chairs away.
There is quite a lot to be said for Zoom.
There are advantages.
There are advantages. There really are. Yeah, there are. Okay, listen, it's lovely to see
take
you.
Care.
Okay, and you, yeah.
You too. Bye.
Okay,
bye. Bye.
Thanks for your help today. Cheers. See you soon.